without further ado, please join me in welcoming Mr. George Hall.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just give you a little bit of my background. I started out a long time ago in fire and EMS. I migrated over to the sheriff's office where I stayed almost 20 years. And when I retired from there, I came over here to the school system. So I've done a lot in emergency services, particularly law enforcement. So I've got a background, especially in juvenile law, because I was a supervisor in the unit that handles all juvenile crimes. So I have a particular set of skills that allows me to work well here at the school system. So I move a lot, so it's just the way it works. These are some of the things we're going to go over. We're going to talk about some of the safety protocols. We're going to talk about some of the things that you can do to help us maintain safety at the schools. We're going to talk about the School Angels program. Again, something that y'all can help us spread the news on that. We're going to talk about the CCS rules about weapons and the state law about weapons and give you the differences between a couple of things. We're going to talk a lot about the See Something, Say Something tool. That's the anonymous reporting system that we have for the kids. It seems to be working well. They're using it well. We're getting probably 3 to 4 tips a day most of the time. Some of the tips have helped us make arrests. So it's working well. And again, if you can help us spread that around, we would sure appreciate it. And then we're going to have time for y'all to ask questions, and I'll stay here as long as you have questions. Okay? All right. So for the security, we use like a multi-level of security. We use our resource officers. Middle schools and high schools have school resource officers, which are deputy sheriffs for Cumberland County. I don't know if y'all are aware, but right now everybody's short. We're short teachers, they're short deputies, we're short our maintenance staff, everybody's short. So the issue is we're having a hard time getting people to want to be sheriff's office. The reason for that is manyfold. New generation. They don't want to be the police. They want something where they can make 6 figures right now. People don't want to be the police because of some of the public's attitude toward police. They've got a bad reputation. The reasons are endless. But so we're short at the SRO level. We're getting people in slowly but surely. So when we get done, we're hoping to have enough for every middle school, every high school back to normal, and then more for the elementary schools. Our goal is to have one for every elementary school as well. So that's what we're working on. Then we use something in the high schools called a Safe School Coordinator. Some of y'all may know about them. They are basically a watch guard for us that helps us look for things that are unsafe. And it's not just crimes. It's things like exit lights being out because the fire marshal will get you on that. It's things like AEDs beeping because the batteries are low. So they just help everybody out. Then the Angels program, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, and what we're trying to do as an overall goal is to keep our students safe, to keep our staff safe, to keep our visitors safe, but most importantly, we're trying not just to keep them safe, but to give them an environment that's conducive to learning. Because the safer they feel, the safer they are, the better they're going to learn. All right, so we are responsible for maintaining a program that is available for every one of our emergency responders. Fire department, police department, sheriff's office, and EMS. It's called the Rapid Responder Program. We are one of the few counties that have this program. And what it means is, if something happens at a school, our responder can pull that school up on their mobile computer. They can find out, they got pictures of the staff. They know who they're talking to or going to be talking to. It gives them diagrams of the school. It gives them places that they can get into, get out of, where all the shutoffs are for the fire departments. So it's a whole plethora where chemicals are stored for the chem labs. So it's just a lot of information. I can't stand up here and give you all of it because we will be here forever. But they all have access to that, and we're responsible for that. We try to keep that updated to the week. I mean, we can't do it every day, but we do it to the week. And I have one person that is responsible for maintaining that. And she sends out emails all the time to keep these things updated. We have training sessions for all new employees. We train on everything from the Rapid Responder Program to OSHA to safety hazards, all the way down to bloodborne pathogens and what to do if there's a blood spill. We provide them how to use the throw-up kits that we have so they don't have to mess with those. So it's better than paper towels, right? Gloves and paper towels. So we have a lot that we do from the safety and security section. The biggest thing is trying to maintain that training, because like everybody else, we have turnover. But then we have to retrain them every year. Just a refresher, not a big deal, but we have to do those too. So we got a lot of things we do. Protocols for threats. I get calls, and consequently, Dr. Willie gets calls from me probably, I'm talking about just after hours, probably 6 to 8 times a week about somebody saying I'm going to shoot up the school. Somebody saying I'm going to bring a gun and shoot little Johnny in the face. Johnny's bad. He gets a bad rap. But when I get that call, I tell the principal or the assistant principal, whoever calls me, exactly what they need to do. And the first thing is call the sheriff's office. Somebody asked me one time, well, you're safety and security director, why don't you call them? Well, because they're going to ask questions that I'm not going to have the answer to. Like, exactly what time did you receive the call? Who called you? What did they say? How did you find out about the threat? Were you on social media? What was the screen name? Who's the kid's name that you identified? What's the parent's name? I don't have all of that information right there at my hand. So I'm going to have to say, I'll call them back. I'll call them back. It's easier just to go from the source to law enforcement so they have all the right answers. The next thing I tell them is to call Lindsay because they're eventually going to have to put out a parent link in a lot of cases, because let's just say, for instance, they're going to start the day in a code yellow. They need to send out a parent link on that and let all the parents know, why are we starting on a code yellow? Because you can better believe if they start on code yellow, then little cell phones are going to be going a mile a minute. Mama, come get me. We on a code yellow, and I don't know why. But if we tell the parents they are, then things go much smoother. Same thing with the code red. We also send them a link when we go off of code yellow, so they know when that happens too. A lot of cogs to the wheel. And when they get moving, they move fast. But we take every threat serious. I don't care if it's a vague threat, like I'm going to get him tomorrow when I get to school, to I'm going to shoot the school up. Every threat is taken serious until we can prove it's not. And to the point, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm up on the phone. I'm talking to the watch commander at Sheriff's Office who has detectives or road officers at somebody's house knocking on the door to say, hey, we got this threat. Your child was involved. Do you have weapons in the house? Does he have access to weapons? 3 o'clock in the morning. 4 o'clock in the morning. Doesn't matter what time. Well, Sheriff's Office is going. Okay? The code of conduct is one of the most important things that we look at every year. Some things go up in level, some things go down in level. But we rely on our principles to maintain that discipline. Because if you maintain the discipline and be fair across the board with it, it keeps control in most cases. Some kids are not going to follow the rules. I don't care what you do. It's just the way it is. There, we get back to little Johnny, right? The other thing is we have to maintain order and discipline so that they can have a safe environment to learn. Just the way it is. The things that we do, we talked about the school access. How many of you, when you go to school, have to be buzzed in? I better see every hand go up. If I don't, we need to talk. Okay? I have to be buzzed in. I buzzed in this morning. I got a key in my pocket to open that door. But I pushed the button just like everybody else. Why? Because that's the rule. And because they need to know who they're letting in the door. They've seen me 100 times. But what if somebody's new? And I just push the button and expect them to open the door. Or I just put the key in and start walking through the door. They don't know me from Adam's house cat. Right? Stop and be identified. That's one of our first steps of safety. The other step is keep all the exterior doors locked. If somebody's propping doors open, I need to know about it. Because that is not something we need to be doing. What happened at Uvalde? Door was propped open, right? I don't want to be that district. Number one, I don't want none of our kids hurt. Number two, I don't want to have to explain to Dr. Conley why we had a door open at school. And we're working on something else called threat assessment training. This is where we are looking at, let's talk about little Johnny again. Little Johnny is normally a straight A student. Little Johnny comes to school. He's happy to talk to everybody. He's happy to speak to everybody. He never is any trouble. Then all of a sudden, one day, little Johnny comes in and he's cranky. He's not being nice to anybody. Matter of fact, he's being kind of ugly. Wait, at the end of the week, his grades are dropping. What now? Think little Johnny might be having a problem? Okay, so you've seen one little glimpse of behavioral threat assessment. Okay? We need to find out what's going on with him. Because if you let stuff like that go and go and go, it ends up being a problem later. And what we're trying to stop is it becoming a problem now before it gets to the point where we have something bad happen. So that's one of the things we're working on now. Weapons on the educational premises is a crime. It doesn't matter if it's a pocket knife or a machine gun. The difference is the level of the crime. Any kind of firearm, I don't care what kind it is, even some pellet guns, depending on how fast they shoot a pellet, is a felony for anybody. Unless you are a sworn law enforcement officer in the performance of your duties, you are not supposed to be carrying a weapon on their property unless you have it in your vehicle locked in a box and the box mounted to your vehicle. That's what state law says. Now, anything under that if it's just they've got ammunition, or they've just got a pocket knife, they've just got a set of brass knuckles, that's going to be a misdemeanor. With the juvenile, since they raised the age to 18, every crime that they are accused of is sent to the Division of Juvenile Justice. What has to happen is they don't get arrested, they get sent to juvenile justice. That's done with a petition. It's a whole long process. If you want to know the ins and outs, I'll talk to you after this because, excuse me, it takes too long to explain. But it's a long time. So the other thing about this is if your child gets your weapon and goes on educational property, or they hurt somebody, or they hurt themselves, you can be charged too. I don't care if it was locked. I don't care if it was a gun safe. I don't care if it had a gun lock on it and they took it off. If they get to it and one of those things happen, you can be charged. Any questions about this? And chances are, if they've got a weapon such as a firearm, they're going to be long-term suspended. If they have a knife, they're probably going to get some days at home. So don't be surprised if you see that happen. All right, School Angels program. How many people in here have heard about that before today? Okay. So the School Angels program, if you have an extra 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes a week, 30 minutes a month, we'll take what we can get. It allows us to put more eyes and ears on the campus. Now, it's not for you to patrol the hallways. It's not for you to go inside the school. The only time they go inside the school is to get a radio and a vest. And then they walk around the outside campus. They check gates. They check outside doors. And there are eyes and ears on the outside. Okay? If they see something, they got a walkie-talkie, they call the principal or call whoever they can get up with and tell them what's going on. So they're kind of like our early warning system. And we have them at several schools. We would love to have them every hour, every day, at every school. That's what we would love. So if y'all can help us pass the word on that, we sure would appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
I was going to ask do they have to have a kid in the school system in order to do?
No.
Okay, so the question she asked was, do you have to have a kid in that school to be at that school? No. There are several of the retired folks that have multiple schools a week. They'll have one on Monday, one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, one on Friday. And they'll do 30-minute blocks, 2-hour blocks. Like I said, we'll take what we can get. I explained all of that. The person that's in charge of that is Kenneth McKinnon. He works for me, and he is the coordinator for this. His phone number should be in your book. Okay. All right. So to see something, say something. There are several ways to get to that. You can get to it off the internet, as you can see up there with the link. You can get to it by phone. And if you happen to be in a place where you don't remember the link is also on our website. This is an important tool because a lot of kids are scared to go up and tell a teacher that something's going on. Why?
Fear of retaliation.
Yeah, fear of retaliation. Nobody wants to be a snitch, right? That's what the kids say. But this way, they can get to us, and when it goes to an answer center, either in New Jersey or Florida, and they send it to the school that it pertains to, and people at the district like me. I get all of them. Everyone that comes in, I get every single one of them. I get it in a text message and an email. I look at it, evaluate it. Do I need to do something now with it? Yes or no? Most of the time, the principals handle it. Sometimes I have to get involved. Just depends on the tip that came in. And we get tips that go from everything to child abuse all the way up to little Johnny's bringing a gun to school to shoot little Jimmy. That's just the way it works. This too is something we need your help with. We need everybody to know this. The well-being of the mental, somebody mentioned mental wellness earlier, but that's a big important part of something that we look at from a safety standpoint. If we can keep your kids' mental well-being analyzed, basically, and catch it early, then we can get them help. Now, it generally doesn't go through my office, but if a teacher calls me and says, hey, I think this kid's suicidal, or I think this kid is having some problems at home, I send them to where they need to go. Generally, it's either the school social worker or the school counselor. If that doesn't work, I send them to student services. Because they're the ones who are going to get them outside help, like to a counseling agency or somebody else that actually can treat them better than what we can in the school system.